Video sponsored by Hitpoint Press and their Big Bad Booklet series. Remember when I did that Shield Hero video and you all thought that was gonna be infinite armor class in D&D? Yeah, I do too, and even though that video came out like a year ago, literally nobody else tried to capitalize on the matter. There's only like 3 solid videos out there trying to make characters with super high ACs, and everyone's doing it the normie way, which is boring and I don't like it. So today I'm once again breaking this tabletop game to teach you all how you can get infinite armor class in D&D. Obviously, the later abominations of characters we'll create will be incredibly bizarre and borderline insane, but the fact remains that it's possible. So bear with me as we spiral down this abyss and let's see what we can come up with. First off, what does it mean to have a high AC? Well, in D&D, the higher the number, the more difficult you are to hit. And even when you are hit, it's how difficult you are to injure. For instance, a turtle moves at the pace of a snail, but their shell provides a strong defense to protect their body, so their AC is high. Similarly, birds are fidgety little speed machines that burst off into the air the second something scares them. Their AC comes from agility and how fast they can move to escape danger. So we already have 2 different ways to go about this. Either we stock up our character on ballistic missile-proof armor, or we make them so fast that not even a gunshot could fly faster. Hopefully that makes sense for everyone, so let's get to work on some weird builds and see how high of an AC we can reach.
Using a wish spell for infinite AC.
Yeah, sure, it can work. Literally just say, I want my character sheet to have a 90-degree rotated 8 in the armor class section, and I'm sure your DM will easily give you exactly what you want. Wishes totally aren't the ultimate monkey's paw, and I'm sure all those movies and video games having wishes blow up in people's faces definitely won't encourage your DM to make you suffer. Anyway, yeah, wish works, but use it at your own risk. I'm not liable for any injuries the spell's gonna cause.
Hiding in a giant adamantine ball for infinite AC?
Okay, well, first off, would standing in a giant sphere of metal be considered armor? I don't know, it might be, because objects in D&D have their own AC, with paper being the weakest and adamantine being the strongest. Apparently nothing's stronger than adamantine, and although you're not technically wearing the ball, it will protect you until it's destroyed, so you can basically say that the ball's AC is your own. Sad to say, adamantine only has an AC of 23, so it's nothing too special, especially considering the ideas I have coming next.
Abusing class and racial features to create an unholy abomination with an AC stronger than a giant adamantine ball?
Yeah, a lot of people tend to do this build thinking they're hot stuff. Anyway, I'll go a bit into this one, but otherwise I don't really care because everybody does this build. So here's the average normie idea I came up with. A Warforged Paladin Wizard multiclass with a shield and a set of plate armor with the defense fighting style casting Shield, Shield of Faith, and Ceremony on themselves has an AC of 28. Considering that we don't need to encase ourselves in adamantine, I'd say this is way more viable. We're still not nearly close enough to infinite armor though, so let me get to some more insane builds.
Surrounding yourself with 12 dozen stone defender mechs?
Now this one actually has promise. Basically, a stone defender is a special little robot that gives people armor class if they're adjacent to them. What that means is we want as many of these things surrounding us as physically possible. Since multiple defenders can't be on the same square together, the best thing we can do is make ourselves bigger so more of them can surround us. With these 2 delicious potions, our size can increase to a terrifying 20 by 20 grid. If we position the robots in a cube around us, 152 stone defenders can protect our character at the same exact time. Since the little robot babies need to see the attacker to activate their armor skill, just put yourself in a giant room filled with mirrors and you should be good to go. That should make it so all the robots can see everything regardless to where the attackers are in the room. So, adding these robots to our AC, and keeping in mind we're still a decked out magical warforged, our armor class jumps to 788. At this point, the number doesn't even matter, because either your opponent just flat out misses, or rolls a natural 20 and hits you through all your ungodly amounts of gear anyway. Yeah, that's right, it doesn't matter how much AC you have, a natural 20 on an attack will just pierce through it all. I guess it's more of a balancing thing, but I can't wrap my head around the idea that a random old man can throw a pebble at our character and still have a 5% chance of hitting us. Also, I'm sure a few of you D&D experts out there realize this already, but even though abusing these robots to give us an AC this high sounds impressive, it doesn't work this way at all in-game. Jeremy Crawford, the principal rules designer for D&D, mentioned in a tweet that abilities with the same name can't stack on top of each other. That basically means we can only have 1 stone defender protecting us at a time. Pretty very wimpy, but that's how it is. But whatever. We're not doing this because it's practical, we're doing it because it's funny. So let's move on to the ultimate armor class build.
Reading books for infinite AC?
It sounds so odd, but this is honestly one of the best ways to do it. So, some of you might already know about the manuals of D&D. These are special magical items you can find in the game, and after completely finishing one of these books, you gain a stat bonus depending on the book you read. The book loses its magic afterwards, and it takes 100 years to be restored. Now, one of these things is called the Manual of Quickness of Action. With this specific book, you can read it to gain points in your dexterity. At this point, we're relying on moving at Mach speeds to avoid taking damage. Now, the concept in theory makes sense, but we eventually come to the issue of, if the book takes 100 years to restore its magic, how do you get infinite AC with them?
Becoming a lich for infinite AC?
Oh yeah, that could solve it. All you need is a single magical book and a body that never dies. Give yourself an eternity to read the thing, and to infinity and beyond, your AC will soar. Is it fast? Heck no. Is it efficient? Maybe. Obviously, I'm writing this as I think of stuff that could work, so I honestly don't know what the Blaine of the Future will come up with next. Creating more books for infinite AC? Wow, Blaine of the Future, is that the best thing you could come up with? Well, this book here has a neat little section that summarizes the following. If you steal crafting supplies from a powerful creature, you can spend 25 work weeks and 20,000 gold to make a new book. If you have the time, the money, and the ability to track down magical ingredients, you can create tons of these things. Pair that up with being a lich, and that'll skyrocket your reading speed. The big issue now are the complications that might arise from crafting these magical items. These are random events that just happen to make your life difficult. So let's go over those and come up with some easy ways to deal with them. Rumors swirl that what you're working on is unstable and a threat to the community. Just move to a different community. No one's forcing you to stay here. Your tools are stolen, forcing you to buy new ones. Were they so badly stolen to the point where I have no idea where they went? Either go track down who stole them and beat them up, or go buy some new ones. You're spending so much money on books that I don't think the price of your tools matters. A local wizard shows keen interest in your work and insists on observing you. Tell them if they're so keen on watching, then they'd better pull their weight and start helping. Maybe you could even finish some of your books faster. A powerful noble offers a hefty price for your work and is not interested in hearing no for an answer. Hire an assassin to kill them, and then kill the assassin so they don't spill your secrets. Nobody gets these books but us. A dwarf clan accuses you of stealing its secret lore to fuel your work. Travel to the other side of the world. Dwarves have short legs, so it'll take them a while to catch up to you. A competitor spreads rumors that your work is shoddy and prone to failure. Who honestly cares? We're not trying to sell these books to anyone, so give that random rumor spreader a good slap on the face and continue your work. Better yet, they're competitors, right? So if they're also in the business of making these books, might be worth staging a robbery, who knows? All of these ideas might be too annoying to make crafting your dexterity books a good idea, so if this insanity ever gets too hard to deal with, here's another thing you can do.
Use homebrew for infinite AC.
Yep, that works perfectly. I'm just gonna make a taco that when consumed gives you magical defensive taco shell powers, increasing your armor class to infinity. Wow, homebrew makes this so easy. Why didn't I do this before? So yeah, there's not a whole lot of easy ways to abuse armor class in D&D, and the last few setups aren't even practical. But it's still fun to see just how broken this game can get if you push the boundaries. To anyone who actually plans to pull some of this stuff off, I wish you luck. Unlike when we became both immortal and invincible at the same time in this video over here, infinite armor class seems like the type of mission best suited to be the main goal of an entire campaign. But what campaign could you possibly start this journey in? Well, it just so happens that this video was sponsored by the Big Bad Booklet series. Hate Point Press releases plug-and-play D&D campaigns that can be run on their own or connected to any ongoing campaign with ease. This month has
the past few. In addition, 1.16 was so well received because it didn't really break any pre-existing game mechanics or add things people disliked. For example, 1.19 eventually added chat reporting, which many people disliked and believed to be overbearing. 1.16 didn't do any of this. In fact, one game mechanic many people, myself included, were hoping wouldn't be altered was the bug somewhat turned feature, whereby pigmen who were aggro at players still dropped XP when killed by the environment. This was something that even Mojang devs mentioned was going to be patched eventually, and players thought 1.16 would be the time to do it, but they didn't, meaning our gold farms above the nether roof still work, no issue. 1.16 was an update which was almost exclusively additory, and that was perfect. 1.16 also had something newer updates intentionally don't have, at least not publicly, and that is a sense of direction. When 1.16 was announced, it was called the Nether Update, and it was obvious from early showcases what it was meant to be. Players' expectations were forcibly grounded as well as clear. However, after issues with overpromising occurring in later updates, now Minecraft updates are not publicly named until long after their first announcement, with only a handful of features showcased in advance. While Mojang's reasoning for this is sound, due to not wanting to have any drama surrounding updates again, it also makes these updates feel directionless and a bit disconnected due to them lacking a more central theme. Take 1.20, the Trails and Tales update. In this update, we got the new cherry biome and trees, very cool. We got archaeology finally and pottery features, we got smithing templates, and then we got the camel and the sniffer as the mobs. All these features feel disconnected from one another and as if they were smaller features of other updates all brought together for some reason. Now, none of these features are necessarily bad additions, but it makes it hard for players to get excited when they load up their game in eager anticipation of a new update's content, only to see things are basically identical and the newer content won't be interacted with or present to them as often. The updates feel disjointed and random and particularly underwhelming. 1.16 was exactly the opposite of that. As we discussed, the update's direction was clear. The new content was immediately visible and evident when you first opened the game and began playing. And it wasn't disjointed content you would only occasionally interact with in differing parts of the world. It was easy to get hyped about the Nether update because, well, it's a big overhaul to the Nether. It's hard to get hyped about an unnamed Minecraft update with a bunch of cool but mostly minor and seemingly side features that don't really connect with each other at all. This is an issue which Minecraft is continuing to face as well, an unfortunate byproduct of their potentially diminished confidence after past update dramas. Now, 1.16 wasn't perfect. If there was one valid criticism of this update, it's that Nether Fortresses didn't really change much at all. That being said, nowhere was it promised that a Nether Fortress update would be included in 1.16, nor was it hinted at or shown in a preview. What we saw with 1.16 is what we got. There was little room for disappointment, and I think that summarizes 1.16 well. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching.
Hi, this is ENX04, and today we're going to build a concrete factory, which is a special type of farm that combines the duping of concrete powder with its conversion to concrete blocks. The concrete blocks are then broken down for collection and storage, making this an extremely useful source of colorful building blocks. This particular concrete factory is designed to be simple and easy to build from accessible materials, requiring no slime or sticky pistons, but it's also surprisingly fast for its size. At 45,000 dupes per hour, this farm produces enough to fill a shulker box in merely 140 seconds. You can also easily switch between different colors or different types of gravity blocks, like sand and gravel, without having to travel between dimensions. And the farm can simultaneously run any combination of these blocks at any time, and can run safely without crashing the server in 1.19 and above. Using the exit portal for duping requires some bedrock breaking, which is pretty easy. But if you're unfamiliar with how to break bedrock, I'll walk you through the process later on. This specially designed duper sends 5 gravity blocks to the overworld every 8 game ticks. These 5 blocks arrive in the world spawn in a stack and are converted to concrete, and then the stack is pushed to create a block stream that passes near the explosions from a TNT duper to break the concrete blocks for collection. Sand and gravel don't need TNT for breaking, they can just fall onto mud to break for collection instead. This particular gravity block duper uses a really elegant mechanism found by Redstonia, who has a video for a super simple gravity block duper that I've linked in the video description. In this design, a piston pushes a gravity block upwards, and then retracts so that the block can convert to an entity and fall. A second piston then pushes the fallen block entity sideways, just a little, until it bumps into a wall block over the exposed edge of a portal. Coincidentally, the height of the portal is just a bit higher than the hitbox of the retracting piston shaft. This hitbox triggers the conversion of the fallen block entity to an actual block, in the same game tick that the entity is teleported away by the portal, thereby duplicating itself. The farm has a series of 5 gravity duping modules, lined up next to each other. They're all nearly identical, with the main difference being that the modules at the ends have an extra bit of redstone dust, so that the pistons can be positioned 1 block further away from the observers, just so that it matches the shape of the exit portal. The modules are triggered sequentially using scaffolding. Each scaffolding block keeps track of how much it's overhanging, and flipping a supporting trapdoor changes the amount of overhang. This information cascades each game tick from one scaffolding to the next, which is then detected by observers. This is a 16 game tick torch repeater clock that alternates between powered and unpowered states every 8 game ticks. This power change is detected by the observers when trapdoors supporting scaffolding flip back and forth, making this effectively an 8 game tick clock. The duping mechanism requires a 5 game tick delay between firing the pistons, so different parts of the clock are used in combination with scaffolding delays to meet this requirement. This repeater, pointing to the side of the repeater in the clock, latches the signal so that it doesn't change. This is a common way to shut off a torch repeater clock while preserving the interval in the clock during the startup and shutdown. And this is necessary to ensure that the gravity blocks don't break due to incorrect timings. The lever for the latch also activates a delayed pulse generator that I'll discuss a little later. Since the 5 gravity blocks are duped in sequential game ticks, one right after another, they arrive at the world spawn, one right after another, allowing them to stack on top of each other, next to a column of waterlogged leaves, which converts the concrete powder to concrete. The 4th block in the set updates the shape of an adjacent wall block, which is detected by an observer that activates the piston array right after the 5th block appears, forming the block string. Since the gravity block duper runs on an 8 game tick cycle, the observer signal also fires every 8 game ticks, and we can use the presence or absence of this repeating signal to start and stop the TNT duper. This repeater has a 4 game tick delay, which powers the piston for 4 game ticks, and then shuts off for the remaining 4 game ticks of the cycle. The next repeater, which also has a 4 game tick delay, makes up for the difference, powering the piston when the first repeater does not. Overall, this means that the piston stays extended as long as new blocks keep arriving every 8 game ticks, and it likewise retracts when the block stream stops. This piston controls the TNT duper by raising a concrete powder block that completes the clock for the TNT duper. This 60 game tick torch repeater clock alternates between powered and unpowered states every 30 game ticks, which triggers the observer to activate the TNT duper every 30 game ticks. Unlike the previous clock that we built in the end dimension, this clock does not require a latch on a repeater because the powder block QC powers the piston that holds it up, so that it can't shut down prematurely. Sand or gravel will also work instead of concrete powder, but Enderman won't pick up concrete powder, so it's slightly preferred. This TNT duper was designed by Mercury. It's extremely easy to build and doesn't use coral fans, slime, or sticky pistons. This particular variant of the duper uses a water stream to slow down the ejection of activated TNT, which limits the distance it falls before exploding. Check out the links in the video description to learn more. The TNT explodes mid-air next to 2 columns of waterlogged leaves. The corner where the waterlogged leaves touch allows some blast rays to pass through so that the block stream breaks, but the damage to entities, like drops, is calculated differently. Drops are shielded from the explosion so that they take only a single point of damage. And since items have 5 health points, this enables the drops to be collected before the TNT can destroy them. The pillars also protect a column of blocks that help eject any drops that might otherwise remain stuck on a horizontal section of the block stream. The extra waterlogged leaves at the base of the pillars protect the sides of the collection pool from the explosion, and also protect some of the drops from the TNT as well. The automatic start and stop of the TNT duper is not just for convenience, it's a critical element of the farm's design. A common problem with TNT dupers is that they can self-destruct if they're left on while they're unloaded and reloaded by the game. And even though this TNT duper is located in the spawn chunks, the game actually stops processing entities, like activated TNT, if there are no players present in the overworld, or if no entities have teleported between dimensions over the last 15 seconds. The duplicated falling blocks that teleport to the world spawn will maintain entity processing while the farm is running, but there are times when you need to stop and then restart the farm, like when you change the concrete powder in the duper to a different color. I've already addressed how the TNT duper stops when no more blocks arrive, but restarting the TNT duper is a little trickier. The main difficulty is that it takes a long time to start a TNT duper. Once you activate TNT, it doesn't explode until 80 game ticks later, and that doesn't include any delays in triggering the first dupe. Unfortunately, the block stream can reach the push limit of the pistons before the TNT has a chance to destroy it. To compensate for this, the on-off switch for the farm has a delayed pulse generator that allows one round of gravity block duping to start, which activates the TNT duper, but then it pauses the gravity block duping so that the block stream doesn't become long-lived and jam. The delayed pulse generator is activated using the same lever that controls the clock. Flipping the lever not only releases the clock latch, but it also deactivates a nuke block, and this sends an update to the redstone torch of a burnout clock, causing it to flicker. The two repeaters delay the flicker and convert it to a long pulse that relatches the clock for a short time before the clock is allowed to continue again normally. If the block stream jams for any reason, the waterlogged leaves over the stack will break any further incoming falling block entities into drops so that they don't stack up to the build limit. The collection system is just flowing water in a pool to feed a set of 3 double-speed hoppers in a short trench. The open fence gate blocks water from flowing down one side so that the trench has a water stream to sweep the drops across the hoppers. Before starting the build, you should locate the world spawn, since you need to build the collection area of the farm at that location. The world spawn is a specific X and Z location in your world that you can find using a compass that has not been reassigned using a lodestone. This default compass will point to the world spawn, so follow the compass and check from every direction that it's pointing to the same X and Z location. Set down a distinctive block at that location, record its X and Z coordinates, and remove any blocks that might be overhead, like branches or leaves. If you find that you can't place any blocks or break them, it means that your server has spawn protection enabled. You can ask your admin to change the spawn protection settings, but if that doesn't work, you won't be able to build this farm on the server. Similarly, many modified servers, especially those related to paper, will disable TNT duping and gravity block duping, and they prevent bedrock breaking. So if you're on one of these servers, again, this farm might not be for you. But if you would like to press forward anyways, be sure to check the video description for additional resources and information. And actually, go ahead and check the video description regardless, since it will have important information, tips, and corrections to make sure that your build will go as smoothly as possible. And remember that most of the questions that I get in YouTube comments are already answered in the video description. So let's start building. First off, make sure that you're not using a respawn anchor. If you are, you'll find it a lot more convenient to disable it while you're building the farm, and probably when you're running it too. Work your way to a stronghold portal room, set down a bed, and set your spawn point. This is just in case you accidentally touch the exit portal while you're building the farm, so that you can quickly re-enter the end dimension and pick up where you left off. Jump into the portal and head to the exit portal, which is at the X and Z coordinates of 0, 0 in the end dimension. The terrain...
Hudson teams was always on Wednesday. Hudson teams was always on Wednesdays.
No, not the extended one, after school. Remember you did the Tuesday, it was Tuesday? Wayne would pick you up some weeks by Peter.
You do realise chess club isn't club and
Yes, it
team.
is. It's clubs and teams extended day. Chess club again, I've got it here. But now, chess club's on a Wednesday, 3:30 to 4:30 with Sarah. Do you wanna do it?
Because it's a club and
Yeah, it's a club and
Sure.
team. But it used to be after school Tuesday and during the day Wednesday. And now it's Wednesday and after school.
I reckon I might do Duke of Ed this year as well.
I've told Steve already that I'm today. So it's all up to you. Okay, so club and teams, want to do chess club?
Yeah.
So for Wednesday the 7th of February. So it must be for Wednesday. But I still think so. I better get this to
Terrain around the exit portal can look different in each world, but I've assumed in this video that the bedrock sides of the portal frame are 1 block higher than the surrounding endstone terrain. If you don't have at least one side of the exit portal that looks like this, just dig away at the terrain so that it matches what's shown, so that the rest of the video will be easier to follow. You'll need to break 5 bedrock blocks on one side of the exit portal. There are many ways to break bedrock, but I'll show a technique from Fallen Breath that allows you to break 1 bedrock block at a time. Place an upward-facing piston next to the bedrock block that you would like to break. Place an obsidian or waterlogged leaves on the other side, followed by a TNT. Place another TNT over the piston, followed by a solid block over the obsidian or leaves with a lever attached over the TNT. Now, before doing anything further, you'll need to prepare a way to rapidly attempt block placement, which is basically a way of just mashing right-click extremely quickly. There are 3 common ways to do this. You can use an auto-clicker program to spam right-click for you, or you can use a mod like Tweakaroo, which has a fast right-click option that you can toggle in the Tweaks menu. Or you can adjust the key binding in the game so that the Use Item Place Block action is mapped to a key on your keyboard instead of the right mouse button. In this example, I'll use the R key to use and place blocks. Tapping the R key is just the same as the normal right-click, but holding down the R key rapidly places blocks. Now put a piston in your hands and you'll be ready to place it, because the next few steps need to happen sort of ahead of the TNT explosion. Flip the lever, for example by tapping the R key, and fast right-click when aiming at the other side of the obsidian or leaves. I've done this by holding down the R key in this example. After the TNT explodes, you should find that the bedrock next to the piston to be missing. If you think that you may have trouble with this process, you can practice a couple times in a creative world. Repeat this process for the remaining bedrock blocks that need to be broken. You may find it helpful to repair some of the terrain as you go. In particular, the TNT under the lever should be supported by a block underneath. Each explosion also causes a tiny bit of damage to the player, so be sure to watch your health too. And when you reach the last bedrock block that you need to break, you can do the mirror image of the procedure, or pivot 90 degrees to face the bedrock block from a different direction. When you're done removing bedrock, repair the terrain and cover the portal blocks with solid blocks so that you don't accidentally touch them as you work nearby. Replace the endstone under each of the missing bedrock with pistons facing up. Create a line of 5 observers, looking away from the pistons. For the first and last pistons, replace the endstone between the piston and observer with redstone dust. Dig a trench 2 blocks deep next to the observers. Extend this trench an extra 2 blocks for a total of 7 blocks in length. Set down a solid block at the end of the trench, attach a trapdoor to the top half of the block, and then place scaffolding on top of the solid block and bridge out to the opposite side. Dig another trench 2 blocks deep starting at the trapdoor, make it 3 blocks long, running alongside the scaffolding. Place a solid block in the middle, and attach a redstone torch to the solid block, next to the trapdoor. Add a redstone dust on the other side, and crouch down to cover it with a solid block and another redstone dust on top. Point a repeater at this solid block, and right-click on it twice so that it has a delay of 6 game ticks. Remove an endstone block and place another repeater at full delay to point at the side of the other one. From here, make another trench, 2 blocks deep and 5 blocks long. At the end of the trench, place a solid block with a redstone torch attached to the side, then place a note block, followed by a solid block, then redstone dust. Crouch down to place a solid block over the redstone dust with a powered lever on top. Point a repeater at this block and set it to full delay. Crouch down to place a repeater over the note block and right-click on it twice to set it to 6 game ticks of delay. Place a solid block over the redstone torch, followed by a redstone dust. Go back to place 2 solid blocks over the redstone torch. Attach a trapdoor to the top half of the block and place scaffolding on the solid block and extend the scaffolding over the trapdoor to a total length of 6 blocks. Over each of the 3 middle observers, place a piston facing sideways towards the portal, then place a top slab next to the last piston, followed by another piston facing the same way. Place redstone dust over the slab and then repeat this on the other side. Place 5 observers to look at the scaffolding line. place the temporary blocks over the portal with wall blocks, and set concrete or sand or gravel on top of the pistons next to the portal. Take a moment to double check the delay of the key, and make sure that the next on this block next to the key. It may also be a good idea to place slabs or other things over the keys to help place them. This completes the gravity test by running it for a few seconds, and only for a few seconds. This will drop the duped gravity blocks into the overworld at the world spawn. Also place 2 gravity blocks on the color so that they fall in. This will help you troubleshoot in case of problems. Jump into the exit portal and you should find yourself back at the stronghold. Break your bed and return to the end and go through the exit portal again. This time it will take you near the world spawn. Go to the coordinates that you recorded earlier for the world spawn and look for a tower of your duped gravity blocks at that location. If you don't see any gravity blocks there, or if you only see one block with a bunch of drops around it, your server has probably been modified to disable the spawn chunks. You'll need to build a chunk loader to compensate for this. Be sure to build it in the same chunk as the world spawn. Here is a very easy chunk loader to build, designed by Dark, linked in the description. If you only see your 2 manually dropped blocks, this means that your duper isn't working correctly. You should head back to the end dimension to troubleshoot. Otherwise, break down the tower, for example using a torch. This is where we'll start construction of the concrete converter and collection system. I'll use smooth stone blocks as my building material, since it has borders that make it easy to count. You can use other materials, but since this part of the farm is exposed to TNT explosions, you should try to use stone variants for building, to make sure that nothing breaks, or at least to minimize damage if something goes wrong. The ideal terrain for the collection system would be a flat area for the collection pool, but most players won't be able to choose the build site. Your world spawn might be on a mountain, or in a valley, or in a dense forest. As a result, I'll assume that you need to build the collection pool so that it's elevated over the terrain. So look around and find an empty space above that will give you enough clearance to build the farm. The farm occupies 10 blocks of distance away from the world spawn, in the direction of the collection pool, 2 blocks in the opposite direction, and 3 blocks in the other directions. Pillar up on temporary blocks at the world spawn until you reach the desired height for the build. Bridge out on 9 mud blocks in the direction of the future collection pool, and then widen the bridge into a platform so that it's 5 blocks across, with a line of mud in the middle. Stand on the pillar at the world spawn and face the platform. On the right side of the line of mud, replace the middle 3 blocks with mud, and add a line of 3 composters to the right edge of the platform, aligned with these 3 mud blocks. Build off of these 3 composters to make a 7x11 border around the platform to hold in the water. When you reach the pillar at the world spawn, use a distinctive looking block, like granite for example, to mark the spot. Bridge out on a block on the other side of the world spawn and stack 2 pistons on top so that they face the collection pool. To the left of the pistons, pillar up on 2 leaves blocks so that you can stack 2 more pistons the same way, and then pillar up again on 2 leaves to add a 5th piston on top. Place a temporary block in front of the top piston so that you can place a leaves block over the world spawn. Jump down from the leaves and on the other side of the
Place.
Well, that's some impressive boxes.
Oh my god. How?
MBT chests, they're a nightmare. Somebody got a hold of creative.
Peaks of Yore piqued my interest because it looked like a genuinely quite fun non-VR first-person climbing game. And I was right. It controls great and slowly teaches you everything you need to know to conquer its many cliffs. I started playing it and looked at the Book of Mountains. Cool. These later ones look hard, and falling will be plenty punishing. Good quality game. Each level had fun little challenges that made it unique. And soon enough, I'd beaten most of the levels, when there was a knock at the door. Jeez, man.
Morning, kiddo. I think it's time you try some more technically challenging climbing.
Another book of levels. This time, short bouldering courses with more difficult mechanics. I thought, oh, okay, a little extra challenge when you've beaten all the cliffs and maybe some time trial stuff. So I beat most of the bouldering levels to finish the game, but then there was another knock at the door. I think now we unlocked the last levels.
With your current progress,
Yep.
I think it's time you try some bigger peaks.
Here it is. Now we were talking real peaks. Some of these were insanely tall, but none stood out quite like the game's final mountain, Ymir's Shadow. Difficulty rating abominable. The tallest and most arduous climbing challenge in the Great Gales. Only the best conquered this peak. It was basically going to be similar to the hardest bouldering level, but about 50 million times higher. I wasn't even gonna try it that day and didn't come back for quite some time afterwards. Until now. I reserved a full stream to beating just this mountain, and I actually felt fear looking up on it. And it was a mountain in a video game. Easily the tallest mountain in a video game I'd ever seen too. And I was gonna summon it. Ymir's Shadow, chat. Jesus Christ. It's gonna suck to fall off this. I also haven't played this game in a while, so. Oh, good. Bad. I gotta remember how to play this game. I should be able to get a. There we go. That's how it's done. It's not getting over it. Alright, I'm not in a feckin' pot. I'm tired of the getting over it. Alright. It's a climb. Oh yeah, timer. Oh yeah, it's true. Let's go back to the bottom.
Using my prime sub while they still exist.
My hand's gonna hurt after this. Holding down my mouse click, and like I'm so afraid. I'm gonna be living this stream in fear. Is this a rage game? See, not really actually. It's like it is really a genuine game. Will I get slightly mad if I happen to fall? Yeah, probably. Get a little upsetty spaghetti. Need a break from Lethal Company. Yeah, that and I've just been wanting to do this. This isn't specifically. Why did I let go of my rope? You gotta remember the keybinds. Yes, I guess I am taking a break. It's not the intention of this. It's just something I want to beat. And I can't stream that long today, so better to do something I can actually beat than like one run of Lethal Company. The last part. That's alright, that's alright. Look, Chad, we made so much progress. Oh, crap. At least the way the mountain's shaped, once we get up to like here, once we get to there, I shouldn't fall further than there. I shouldn't hit the ground. The nice thing is the more ropes we get, you know, the easier to make it back up once we get. 2 hours? That's hopeful. It's kind of tall. This kind of lacks music. If I fall again, I'm gonna play some music. What do you guys want to listen to? Something epic and hype. Grab something, you idiots! Okay, I'm gonna rope there. Classical. Not that many teachers I didn't like. Never had like beef with teachers. I actually had more beef with teachers as a teacher than I did as a student. you can't articulate that beef nearly as much because you're supposed to work with them. I was an assistant teacher, so I was with the teachers, and yeah, I had beef with them because some of them were absolute shit at their job. And I was just thinking, the worst teacher I ever worked with was this kindergarten teacher, and like I was in that classroom specifically to work with one kid, and it ended up being the opposite. She would take singular kids out at a time and just do constant evaluations on them for the smallest things, like pattern recognition, colors, letters, whatever. And so the class was generally just me taking care of like the dozen kids or whatever, while she took one out at a time to just do never-ending evaluations on them. It was kind of what I'm supposed to do. I was in elementary school, so I just worked with like kids with disabilities. That's what teacher assistants do. Because obviously those kids need a little bit more than those students. I did it for just over 2 years, and then I stopped with COVID, and that's when I realized that I didn't want to be a teacher. Because, oh god, online school, when you're working with kids with disabilities, is like, it's a joke, really. You don't keep their attention at all. The only chance they had, really, was, like, in the school environment. I worked with this little Ukrainian girl. She was learning French. And even though I'm not that awesome at French myself, you know, they take what they can get. So I was her basic French teacher for a few months. Oh, what's this kind of wrong? When COVID kind of first started, and that was fun. I liked her, but I only held her attention for like 20 minutes a day max. And like that's with her mom in the room with her, getting her to stay at the computer and sing our French songs together or whatever. See, the nice thing is, if I fell, well, how many ropes do I have? Does it say? It should say only 9. Okay.
Have any of your students or coworkers found you again through YouTube or Twitch?
No. I do wonder sometimes, because like I was oh.
Big corner cloud.
No. Okay. Holy crap. Insane, inhuman reaction. This isn't, yeah, okay. Holy smokes, dude. Yeah, I don't know. If they have found me, they haven't reached out, which doesn't surprise me. Like, as a teacher assistant, I really was like a second-class citizen in the school kind of thing. Like, the teachers were really cliquey. Most of them. The teachers that weren't cliquey just kept to themselves, so. I mean, they were very nice, but they weren't exactly buddies with me. The nice thing is, there's been no just like absolute, like, these are pretty intense, but, you know, we're making it. Yeah, no, it was a very gratifying job. I felt like I was making a difference. Mind you, I felt like I was making a difference in person. As soon as it went online is when I was like, yeah, I'm doing it now. And like, I would do it again, but part-time, because there's not a lot of guys in like the teacher assistant role. So especially for boys with disabilities, it was good to have a male to work with them. So that's something that I would do part-time, but full-time it was too much, you know, like really just ungodly strong. It's kind of this guy in particular, actually. Well, I don't know if it's not an exploit, but it's like there's like a jump that you do by sticking your feet in, and then there's also a normal swing jump, and I kind of just combined them, and that's where that Superman jump comes from. So I'm sure it's intentional to a point, but I am combining jumps. Bro, where's the next rock? Oh, it's up there. Come on. 7 ropes left. We're enough up the mountain, right? Let me play some music. Tony Hawk Pro Skater OST. Skater music chat? Oh yeah. This is pretty extreme sports. Shit. What's the white circle? It's like my grip. These rocks slowly wear away at your grip. What the fuck was that? Oh.
What is the shrinking circle that appears in the bottom left?
Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna play Midnight Motorist. No, I've heard that enough. Crux completed, let's go! Dude, do you think there's gonna be birds on this map? I'm actually gonna rope here. That's why. Yeah, but it's the hardest mountain in Senso. It wouldn't it wouldn't surprise me. I had a PS2 with Tony Hawk Skater on it from one of my older brothers, but we didn't have a memory card, so it was like restarting every time. It was kind of rough. I didn't even really know what they were. I was just kind of accepted that it restarted every time. Just a kid. What are you supposed to do? My brothers were moved out, so they couldn't help me. Just a guy listening to Tony Hawk climbing a big ass mountain. What a life. Not a care in the world. Nothing but Tony Hawk. Just don't look down. Look at the view, chat. Wow. I shouldn't have looked down. I'm nervous now. That's gonna be quite the fall. Woo! Oh, look at those! Cruelty in a can, man. I want a rope here, but what's it even gonna do? All right, Chad, let's do it.
Austin SAF.
No.
Hello, friend.
Hey, what's up? How you going?
Austin SAF. Can we be close friends?
Nah, I'm good. I'm live streaming.
Austin SAF. Hoi's the old one in the back.
What was that? Oh.
You guys in Twitch chat as
Shouldn't use all of it.
Not quite. You know, I have a really cool idea. Aha! Found it. Chat, if we fall, time to remove the rope and make a leap of faith. Dude, I really want a rope here. How about overlapping Monty Golf music? That's a good idea. It's like just like we're going through the vines. Crux reached Chalk Road. How do I use chalk? I don't remember. Go, put your hand in. V. Let's go. Holy shit. Holy shit. These are insane. That shock lasts, or those hands last no time at all. Crap, I just like, I don't know. Whee! Ah, dicks and balls, man. Where do I go? Can you die in this game? If you can, this will be the place. Do I have to go down? Because there's holds down. I could rope and scout. Yeah, that's true. I can take this rope back too. Because, you know, 2 ropes left doesn't make me super confident. Yeah, it's there. So I either, okay, I have 2 choices here. Option A, go down, go back up. Option B, swim. Holy shit! Absolutely fucking Scottish flying! Welcome to flight school! What the fuck are these holds? Well. I'm right. But where am I going? Imagine being here and like, I'm out of energy. Fucking then what? Where do I go? Oh, I couldn't see in the light. Yeah, I see it, Pepsi, thank you. I think my best bet would be, yeah, that. Jeez, there's another one? How do I even, oh my gosh. Chat, I'm not super close to the top. One can imagine a nice Scottish man making it. Thanks. Oh. This ain't Lethal Company, but it is lethal. You're right. This is lethal to my emotions. The entire mountain is a rock. Just grab it. Now this game looked fun till I watched you play 33 minutes of it. Okay. Yeah, this is the hardest mountain. Okay, it's not. I don't know like what approach to take with this. This I kind of like this. It's kind of fucked. Let's sippy. Dude, I ran out of mouse pad. I fucking flicked too hard. Gonna lose my mind here. There's a lot of mountain left with 1 rope. I was out. I had to leave. Oh. I didn't know that was there. I took some balls. Going side to side on these ones sucks. Okay, that's my next hold. Fuck you. I'm gonna need a new mouse pad eventually, dude. Which should you consider the worst type of rock? The slimy rock, for sure. This is how our parents got to school. True. This is how I got to school. I'm almost parent age. Old man Spig. Ready, chat? Woo! That felt good. Oh, there you got it, chat. There you got it. I can't believe I didn't catch anything on the way down. Look at that. There was a lot of time to reflect on life. Yeah. Damn, dude, I was feeling myself. I was doing good climbing until I fell. What should we play while we get back? What's our recovery soundtrack, chat? The Tony Hawk was actually doing pretty aight for Epic Gaming, but now Epic Recovery. Yeah, I'll try Risk It Rain. I like that. This game of a story? Yeah, you're a Scottish guy climbing mountains. We've almost made it back. It's true, yeah. The ropes help. We've only rescued one rope. Gamble away, chat. Hey, Risk It Rain. Give me a banger, please. You're fired. Risk It Rain, this is not a banger. This is like cave music, bro. Joke's on you, they're all bangers. Music is situational. You need something aloof. Where did we make it to? Where did we fall off, chat? Like, are we past where I fell up? No, I made it past here. No, I'm not past it. I remember this jump, I think. There's been a lot of jumps. So I just want to probably rope off where I fell. Yeah, these were awkward. I did the same thing. Yeah, because your hands clip through that rock. I have faith, not a lot of faith. Yeah, I remember this jump too. Is the prediction just on if I'll have a big fall? The question also then remains, what is a big fall? Because I might recover like halfway down. Okay, I want to recover my stamina here. Well, I didn't fall to the base last time, but if I have a fall like last time, it'll count. Base or pretty much base? Oh yeah, I took coffee here last time. So it wasn't even here that I fell. Shit, I roped too early. I thought it was right there that I fell. Shit, where did I fall? How much further was I? Maybe here? No. Like a collectible. Oh my god, I've been getting mad at getting over in comparison to look over there. Get in the pot. Here we go again. We can make that.
Thanks for all the amazing content today and for just being an
Your 4 cats. Holy. I'm sure they would get along just great.
Birthday less than 3 for music, maybe rain world lost.
This is where I fell. Yeah, we're in PB territory now, chat. Gonna need a recovery rock. Thank you. How do they know? How tall is it? Kind of tall. You know what? I'll give it first person Celeste before I'll give it getting over it. At least Celeste, you climb mountains, I think. Instead of like piles of various trash. Just reach, old man. Kidding, really? I'm gonna use the last rope here. I don't feel like falling right here.
Okay, quick, you gotta stop. Help you get in now.
Okay.
Olivia_Peterson 1. Hey, how are you doing? Olivia_Peterson 1. You here?
know my opinions on snakes.
Yes, you've had it since you were a tiny little toddler. It's the first things you've ever said. Do you like snakes?
I don't hate
How have you ever
snakes.
even seen them in your
I'm
life?
just scared of snakes.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Okay. Why are you scared of them?
There's some like, I don't know.
Snaky.
Yeah. I don't know. They're like slippery and like gross. They'll bite you and constrict you.
Maybe we learned a lot about snakes in Darwin, do you remember?
Yeah.
And you guys were like recoiling and thinking about, reading the stats like inmate Taipan killed, 10,000 mice or 100 men with one bite, and you guys were like, what? We recall kind of freaked out somewhat.
And like they could be hiding anywhere. They're like small and skinny.
Red? 6, so pretty filling. You don't see.
Alright.
Did you serve it all out? Yeah.
Anybody want that one now? You're gonna go your Mike, that one, right, Jody? I made the wrong choice by buying. Alright, see y'all later.
Yeah.
Yeah, the information you need for, you can join everybody up 20 already, without even, 20 men coming there without. Usually it's, well, it wasn't 12, yeah, so, but you know, those, doesn't mean all those men are gonna join. But I mean, they barely advertise as 20 guys coming, so it's a pretty big, there's a big need for it, man. You think they're everywhere, but it's only because we're in the space like anything.
Someone's just got to start it, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Not everyone wants to start one, do they?
no.
Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just Monday to Friday.
So I can still do my job. Okay, good.
Nah, dude. I'm out of rope. Sorry, rope marker. No can do on that one. I'm still falling when I wake up, huh? That's an unbelievable win. That counts. Jesus Christ, the guy. There's a slide back to the bottom. Back down to hell where I'm. Oi, oi, oi! That's a lot of blackouts, yeah. Alright. I'm not feeling intense music while I struggle. I don't feel epic after falling out the key. I have the perfect long song for you. Do you, Connor? Do you know? Yeah. No, Connor. I'm not going to play you. We were close, but man, do they ramp it up with like the unrecoverable falls at the end? It's very much like if you fall here, you're going to the bottom for that entire section. Like it doesn't line up with any of the other sections. You can't just fall down a few sections. Which is kind of sad, but it's kind of fitting for the hardest mountain. The Blob 2, sure. Give that a run. It works for the climb back up. With these mountains that you fall off a lot of, you kind of end up being able to poorly speedrun them just because of how many times you have to go through most of the sections to succeed at all. Particularly applicable for the boulders, where once you beat them once, you can basically speedrun them. I'm gonna take this road. Time for the Leap of Yore, chat. The Swim of Yore. But Leap of Yore, like, has a nice ring to it. This is like a checkpoint on our run. The only rope we truly need on the way up. Oh, what a huge bounce. All right, we're getting there. I think we're technically on the crux already. Yeah, I didn't like this part. But it's fairly recoverable, so I don't think I'm gonna rope it. This is where it gets real. All right, we're gonna change the vibe. We're to Rain World for a bit. That's why we got that rope. Holy shit.
Happy 14 months. I always love your content, even if I can't catch it all the time.
What the fuck is that? Get. up. I did rope there.
Hope you had a happy holiday and were able to fix the burn dryer's big loaf shake, big loaf shake.
Don't want to talk to the dryer. It's not. There's some badge about the dryer. It's not working again. There's something fundamentally
Hope
wrong with it.
having a good stream.
Yeah, I was overdoing it a bit. It's an awkward jump. I'm gonna see, because like the dryer's still covered with warranty. So I'll have to see like what my options are, if I'm gonna be stuck in like permanent repair hell, or if I can just like maybe get it replaced.
New dryer fun.
No, it's not your responsibility to dryer. I can't believe there's so much more of this terrible section. No, I gotta like sit up. I gotta be in gamer mode. Like, this place sucks if you fall. Big sucky max. We're in PB territory now. Can wipe my right hand. That's our last rope. Made it pretty far, Chad. Be a real shame to fall now. Look at that. You can see over all the hills, isn't it? This jump's kind of scary. We're out of rope too, so that's just always out of the question now. We just gotta deal with whatever comes our way. How are we not even at the top? Hopefully we're past the hardest parts. And this is kind of no, not a crux, bro.
Just do what I do when I have problems. Scream.
Well, I've done a fair amount of man screaming. My worst nightmare is like forgetting which hand is which and letting go of the wrong click. That would be fucking catastrophic. How I feel, video game. You're nailing the mood. Come on, Coffee! We need a big one! Let's go! No, don't give me $50 for my dryer. I already told you I didn't need it. Oh my god. Is it? Yes. Yes. Oh, the final peak. Holy shit. Feels pretty good, man. Whoever said Rain World, you got it right. Look at that view. Damn. Let's go, believers. Let's go. Time 137. Not bad. Is this not Rain World? Oh, that's what I meant by Rain World. I got rain, all right? Stop. Don't. That's 70. Don't. It's supposed to be covered by warranty, chat. The goal here is that we don't spend any, your money or my money, on the dryer. I'll take that as Mountain Victory donation, though. Thank you for the $50 dryer. And then for the last time, there was a knock at the door. There better not be more. And that's the tutorial, chat. Ymir Shadow. What? No. No, you're just saying that because you gave me a new tool. Okay, a better crampon. You can leap higher. Holy shit. You can already leap pretty high. Another knock at the door.
Afternoon. I must say, you've done very well.
Oh.
Times.
No.
A mountain is yet unconquered by any sort. Very few dare. Even the path to get there is arduous and treacherous. If it's there, why shouldn't we climb it?
Man, this is supposed to be a short stream, dude. Fucking Olympus, dude. I was so sure that was gonna be the end. We've unanimously approved your journey to the Great Northern Range. Custom steel forged ice axes used for climbing ice, as well as moving banks of deep snow on the alpine rock falls. This is like pre-mountain, chat. This is the this is before the mountain. There's always a bigger fish, and in our case, a bigger mountain. Peaks of yours surprised me not once, twice, but 3 times, thinking I'd beaten
Azulka underscore.
the greater challenge.
Why is the sand pink?
It's concrete powder. Pink concrete powder. I asked what might be the color I should make it, and they said pink. So, it's pink.
Azulka underscore. Couldn't hear you well.
Can you hear me at all? Oh yeah, it does seem quiet. Bumped my mic earlier. I feel like turn my mic. That should be a little better. Yeah, so as I was saying, yeah, the reason it's pink sand is because it's actually actually think concrete powder. One of my viewers picked out.
Olivia_Peterson 1. Hey.
What's up, Olivia Peterson 1? How you going?
Olivia_Peterson 1. How are you?
I'm doing good. What about you?
Olivia_Peterson 1. I a good too.
That's good. I'm just clearing out.
Olivia_Peterson 1. Your voice is too low, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much what I can really do about that.
Olivia_Peterson 1. Do you stream daily?
Sometimes.
Olivia_Peterson 1. Okay. So do you like any other games?
Yeah, I play a bunch of games, but only really live stream Minecraft.
Olivia_Peterson 1. Alright.
What about you? What games do you play?
Olivia_Peterson 1. BTW, I noticed you are almost near to 200 followers, so I saw you got a good logo, but I can make better than this. I got a creative idea for that. Should I share on your IG?
No, thanks. I'm not really looking for anything like that at the moment.
Mountain isn't just higher. The entire game has changed with the introduction of ice pickaxes that I'll have to constantly swap between, and who knows what else, because I barely made it up 20 feet before calling it for the day. There's some upgrades I can get, like longer rope by getting collectibles earlier in the game that I've gone back to collect, but I will return to finish this journey. So expect another video eventually on the real highest mountain. The title of this video still holds true though, because Ymir's Shadow is still the highest mountain I've ever seen, because you can't even look at the real highest until you beat the one prior. And it's going to be quite the challenge. Holy crap, it's a new world record from 3 days ago. 159 Vanny ending, played on a Steam Deck. I can't wait to watch this true master at work, especially since the run's only been submitted 3 days ago.
Here's how to make Minecraft horses finally useful. And here's why Poisonous Potato might just be my new favorite item. And this is every way Minecraft can make useless features into useful ones.
And hey, the YouTube gods bet me that it's impossible to subscribe to the channel before this house burns down. So, to prove them wrong, light up that sub button down below. It's free, and it helps out a ton.
If you want an example of life not being fair, just look at the difference between the cauldron on Java versus the ones in Bedrock. Since in Bedrock Edition we can both dye the water, fill them up with potions, and even use it to make a lot of tipped arrows. But in Java, none of those exist over there. And that's where this modded concept comes in, since this will allow us to throw in a stack of concrete powder at once, and using the water in the cauldron, turn all of it into concrete. Which I've got to say is a lot more simple than building this whole blast chamber design. Certainly a lot quieter. And since Mojang seems to refuse adding any kind of dispenser or hopper functionality to our cauldrons, this wouldn't require either, and it would make it a lot more helpful. You ever wanted to throw milk? Yeah, I can't say I have either, but after seeing this idea, I'm reconsidering. And the idea here is that the same way that we're able to give people effects using splash potions, if we mix together a milk bucket and gunpowder in our potion, we could have a useful way to remove effects from who we want to. Whether that's aiding a friend to help them get rid of poison, or more likely, getting rid of the strength buff that your enemy just took in combat. And I think that since Mojang wants to add in more potion functionality with future updates in the combat snapshots, this could be an interesting way to balance it out. I mean, I for one know that anyone that I'm fighting who's willing to throw milk on me, that's not someone I want to mess with. No way you're winning a fight with a crazy person. Back when horses were added in 1.6 for Minecraft, it seemed like a huge deal. And granted, back then, it was. And ever since 1.9, it really hasn't been. Since with the addition of elytras, why would you ever use a horse to get around? But with this example, we're going to make the horses more useful by using them to pull around these carts. And now we'd have the option to use a plow to till a bunch of soil into farmland, or create a huge path behind us as well. Or with the animal cart, we could bring along different mobs with us, giving us a way of using boats on land land without actually using boats on land, because that's pitiful. And finally, the most useful of which would probably be the supply cart, giving us a double chest worth of storage, all the while not sacrificing the speed that we would get from going from a horse to a donkey. There's even an extra seat for your friends to ride along. How perfect is that? Even though they're called armor stands, that's actually a misnomer, since when you look at them on Java, there's no arm to be seen. So to take our ore stands and make them into actual armor stands, all we have to do is just right-click them with sticks, and with that, we don't have to use any kind of special creative commands to actually get these to work. And then if you decide that you don't want them with arms, just blink the armor stand, and it'll go up itself, and the 2 sticks that you used. I think this would make a lot of sense, and it would bring us on Java in line with Bedrock as well, which I'm always in favor of. And it seems like Mojang is too, with how much they talk about parity. Copper was a great addition for building, and while it looks like we might be getting some redstone help in the new 1.21 snapshots, there's still a lot left to be desired, especially when you look at other modded implementations of Copper in the past. So I think taking after the mechanics that Simply Sark lays out here could be really useful, and all of that stems from using the lightning itself from a lightning storm to then create energy that we can disperse into different things, whether that's to charge our blocks or our new copper tools and armor. And think of this charging as the copper equivalent of enchanting, where the more energy that you charge them up with, the stronger that they become. With a pickaxe even being able to auto-smelt ores and stones. Just be careful, because when you're charged up with all that energy, if you were to step into something like water, you've got to find out the reason why you don't make toast in the bathtub. Ouch. Compasses are a nice idea, but they've never been nice in execution. Now, don't get me wrong, they do serve a purpose in the overworld, but I think the Quark mod's idea of making these work in every different dimension would be really nice. Now, obviously, we can't have a bed to trace back to in the Nether, so now the compass, instead of freaking out, would actually just trace us back to the portal that we entered from, provided that you had it on you when you came through. And just the same, in the end, it would point you to the overworld portal. And while you could use lodestones to make this happen actually in vanilla, that just gets so exhausting to do, and expensive. So I think to actually have this be a useful feature, it'd be worth buffing it up in this way to actually get it into our hotbars. Ever since the addition of bubble columns, we really don't see ladders get used very much. And the real reason for that is that ladders are just useless now. I mean, why would you pick the option that's slower and less user-friendly? It seems like a no-brainer. So having this change from Quark would make it a lot more useful. Whereas now, if we're holding onto a ladder, we can right-click it with another one to place it, which allows us to drop ladders down without risking falling to your death. Think of it like the inverse of a scaffolding. And then when you're on that same ladder, if you look down while climbing it, it'll make you slide down much faster. And finally, they have the idea of having special variants of ladder that could be able to freestand on themselves, as long as there's one attached to a block up top. Because let's be honest, if you have a whole pillar to place the ladders off of, you've probably already reached the top and bottom of your destination anyway. So this would make it a lot more useful in a practical sense. Mojang's gone on record saying that they don't want to add furniture to Minecraft. At least they don't anymore. They did technically add in a chair in the past, but I digress. So if that's the case, why not add in more furniture qualities to the makeshift that we're making? And the simplest option for that would be allowing us to sit on stairs, which you gotta admit looks a lot nicer than trying to figure out this different option using minecarts or llamas or whatever sittable mob we've tried to push into this. And there's a reason why a lot of servers come built in with this plugin. It just makes sense. Right-click the stairs, sit down, you're done. You have a working couch. It seems like just a no-brainer. I'm amazed it hasn't made it into the game, but maybe they're just that confident about not having furniture in the game. I don't know. Invisible item frames are such a valuable tool for building, if you're in creative mode, since for those of us in survival, there's just no way to get these. And so I think it would be nice if we had different options to get these within the vanilla game. And while this plugin makes it so that if you shift right-click an item frame, it'll turn invisible, I've also seen implementations where you could use a splash potion of invisibility to make it invisible, which is definitely a lot more expensive, but having some kind of solution in between those two would make a lot of sense. And I think involving it with invisibility potions is the right idea. I mean, it makes sense, it makes us invisible, why wouldn't it make this too? Just don't make it that expensive. I don't want to have to spend that many golden carrots just to get myself something that looks nice on my table. With the help of a bucket and access to the nether, you can get yourself an infinite amount of fuel to use in your furnace. And this idea takes it one step further, since here the idea would be that instead of placing the lava inside of the furnace, by just placing your furnace or blast furnace on top of the lava source, then you could use it as a way to get yourself fuel indefinitely. And while I think that's an interesting concept, I do think that this would need to be bundled with something that would make it less overpowered. Like the campfire is able to cook food without any incremental fuel, but it's a lot slower. slower, so a trade-off like that might be good. Or you'd have to use a stronger block than stone to craft your furnace. If you don't, it'll just explode into the lava. And something like that could make lava a way better fuel source for us, instead of just using all the different carpet duping methods that we use in the overworld. Experience bottles are confusing. Not only have they never been particularly useful, but they're also random. And so I think to make these more applicable, we could help out with both. For one, it would be nice if we had some way to store our experience into the bottles ourselves. That way it's not a rare find, but a way for us to actually store our experience, instead of using skulk blocks. And then having these give the same amount of experience every time that you break them. With this, the default being set to 10, which I think seems fair. And that way we can make sure that a lot of players get to see these in their actual world, instead of on like a Hunger Games server, since that's about my only exposure to them right now. If they're playing on an SMP and someone doesn't sleep for 3 days, then that's not just a problem for them, but it's also a problem for everyone else on the server. So that's why a feature like this that we see in the mod Personal Phantoms would be one that I would choose to use, since here the Phantoms only attack the player that hasn't slept for 3 days. And to me that seems fair. You don't do your chores, you get a slap on the wrist. In this case, a whack in the face, but different discipline styles aside, I think this also could be really cool if you added this in with something like Don't Starve, where the Phantoms would only appear to people who are sleep deprived. For the rest of us, it just looks like they're going crazy. I don't know, I think it could be a fun take for this mob. Poison potatoes are useless, and that's not a surprise. It's literally intentional. But what if they weren't? And for that case, I think what Quark does here really makes sense. Since here, you're able to feed a poison potato to a baby mob and then keep them permanently at a baby state. Really, no matter how much time passes, they'll never grow up. Stone tools cannot be crafted with stone, which seems stupid, right? I mean, why not call them cobblestone tools if that's what we're supposed to use? And while we can use blackstone for these, this feature with Quark would allow us to use granite, diorite, andesite, as well as the regular clean stone to make our pickaxes, which makes it a lot more fitting for the stone tool, don't you think? Raw ore blocks are good for storage and decoration. Well, with an idea like this, we don't have to give up that storage just to smelt them, since here we would be able to smelt the raw ore block to then obtain a block of that respected melted material. It'll just take 9 times as long, which would sound like a bummer, but it also allows you to store a lot more stuff inside of a furnace, which after a long mining trip, that could be appreciated. Soak Touch allows you to pick up blocks that you weren't supposed to be able to. That's not a surprise, that's literally what it does. But yet there's still some things that we're not able to pick up that do have items attached to them. Things like vines, frog spawn, and tall grass are all typically not obtainable through Soak Touch. And that's why I think taking the lead of this plugin would make sense. And here we'd be able to get ourselves reinforced deep slate, budding amethyst, and even the pathland block like we can on Bedrock. I don't know, it just seems like it would make more sense than having to guess which ones it's gonna work on versus not. There's no way to fertilize nether wart. Since you can't exactly use bees to pollinate them, and you can't use bone meal on the stuff, you really can't hope for anything to make it grow faster. So the idea behind the carpet mod would be to change this by using blaze powder to fertilize nether wart. And while I do think that bone meal would still make logical sense, considering that there are bones inside of the nether, I do also think this would be an elegant solution. It would certainly be a quick solution, and for someone as impatient as me, I'll definitely take that.
Narrator
Shulker boxes are
narrates
great for
all.
inventory storage, except
Narrator,
for
narrator,
since at that
narrator,
point, these things
off.
just take up a whole bunch of space, and you can't stack them. And considering we can't put our shulkers inside of other shulkers, our only solution is to put these down or put them in a chest. So I think the idea of having empty shulker boxes stacked would make a lot of sense. And then when they have their own custom NBT associated with them, then they can't. I mean, that's how other things work in the game. Weird to think that it wouldn't happen the same for these two. Chains in Minecraft are good for decoration, and that's just about it. I mean, you can't even make chainmail armor out of these things. So at that point, it seems like Mojang doesn't want to give them much of a purpose. But this changes that and then some, giving them not only a purpose, but a game-changing revelation. Let me introduce you to Chainstone, which would be an alternative to the kind of slime block piston machines that we're used to. Instead, you can use these chains to stick blocks together, but only along one axis, which means you have to use a lot less glazed terracotta to make your machine work. And plus, it just looks cool, which I think is reason enough to add this in. The Fletching table's useless, at least to us, not the Fletcher. And the fact that it's been in 6 updates now and it still hasn't gotten its own UI, that makes it funny to me. And so to fix that, the idea behind the aptly put Fletching table mod so that we can use this to craft the tipped arrows that we're used to, but it would be more efficient than the actual crafting table. And in that way, it's a lot like the stone cutter, which was also a 1.14 edition. And I think also adding in the ability to use any type of potion to craft a tipped arrow for it would be quite nice, since currently the only way to get arrows of levitation would be to spawn them in through commands like this. It'd be nice to have them officially. Wandering traders aren't the best to use. Most of the time, they're just good for 2 leads and nothing else. So that's why I like this idea here to improve the quality quality of the items traded, where we're not only getting better stuff in their regular trades, but now each trader will spawn with its own super rare item. And come on, for a wandering merchant peddling their wares, that makes a lot of sense too. Especially with the kind of experimental changes that Mojang's planning on adding to villager trading, this could be a good way to get some extra rare enchanted books, instead of just an extra rare sapling that you already have plenty of. Sniffers are my favorite Minecraft mob, but as great as they are visually, they've never been much for features. I mean, the best that they can give you is a torch flower that doesn't give off any light. Not exactly useful. So to fix that, the Helion Sniffer mod has a couple of great ideas that we could add in the game. For one, you can now saddle a sniffer to ride it, but that's not all you can do, since by giving them a chest, that'll now give them a place to put their dug up seeds. And perhaps the most useful feature is that if you give one of these sniffers an ominous banner, it'll then use that to sniff out the nearest pillager outpost. It'll just walk there a little slow, but it does look pretty cute to ride, so at the very least it's an enjoyable journey. And we didn't just see changes to our sniffers with this add-on, but also finally a change to that torch flower. Because in the base game, while it doesn't emit any light, here the idea is to make it live up to its namesake, which not only makes it a unique flower, but it also makes a lot more sense when you look at the name. Bundles still have yet to be officially added to Minecraft, and while we can only hope that that means that they're making a proper inventory overhaul for us on vanilla, if we do see that, I'd like to see this feature added as well. The idea behind the Bundle Jumble mod is that if you place different blocks inside of a bundle and then place them out, it'll place them at random, which, as any builder can tell you, is great for getting random and organic textures inside of your builds. And speaking as someone who doesn't like to scroll through all the slots on my hotbar just to make a convincing looking path, this would be more than a little useful. And it also gives the bundles a purpose outside of the shulker boxes, because right now that's the competition and they're not exactly winning. Minecraft has a lot of different foodstuffs to eat, but whether or not you go out of your way to try those different foodstuffs is really just up to your own personal challenge, considering that there's nothing in the game that would make you want to try a lot of the different foods after you get something good like a golden carrot or hoglin farm. And so to explore the rest of the range of what Minecraft has to offer, this data pack makes it so that we have to diversify what we're eating so that we don't get poisoned. And while I think that this idea of having debuffs if you eat too much of one thing is too much, I do like the idea here of having a balanced diet to then get healthier and gain more positive effects. Then we can keep the old way that players are used to, but then also give a reward for those that are willing to sample the rest of the menu. That seems like a good middle ground to me. I've never understood why the clerics need so much rotten flesh, considering that for us, it's completely useless. I mean, maybe it's a snack if you're really desperate, but even then, not the best. So that's probably why so many different data pack solutions have tried to make it so that rotten flesh can be tanned to then get yourself leather. Just put it in a furnace, melt it up, and there you go. Got something a lot more useful. And hey, maybe you go sell it to the leather worker villager instead of the cleric. At least then you're diversifying your portfolio. Minecraft bats don't do a lot, and that's literally by design. They're just supposed to be an ambient mob. But here we can make an ambient mob into an ambient solution, since by feeding a bat a glowberry, that'll then make it glow when it flies around, offering you a nice little light source down there in the caves. But considering that eating glowberries doesn't even make us glow, I think we still have a ways to go before these get useful like this. But it would be a cool idea. Spectral arrows are an often unused part of Minecraft, and that probably comes down to the cost of the couple of glowstone that you need for this. So really, unless you just got done piglin bartering, it's probably not in your inventory. But here, we're gonna mix together two useless features and make one useful one. Since while there's plenty of people online who will groan about the glow squid, I do think that this simple idea of using the glow ink sacks with arrows to make spectral arrows would make a lot of sense. But let's be honest, even the glow squids don't glow. So as much as I would love to see this, it might take some time before it shows up on Mojang's to-do list.
Ask anyone in the spawn-proofing business. Light levels are a touchy subject. After all, it's a delicate balance trying to upkeep a moody, broody atmosphere, all without keeping mobs in your base. So, in the interest of that precision, what if different redstone signal strengths gave off different light levels? It does make sense. Not only would a weaker signal obviously give off a dimmer output, but there's also 15 levels of both light and redstone signal strength. And folks, that correlation is just too good to pass up on. Among the 1.16 update's vast amount of features, we got something we haven't seen in a while. A new button. I know, that doesn't seem like a big deal, but the last time that we got a new button type was back in the so-called Pretty Scary update of 2012. And though it's been a long time coming, Blackstone buttons had the opportunity, but in many ways, dropped the ball. You see, unlike the other two, this doesn't give out a different pulse length, making it basically useless to redstone. So if we do get a redstone update, let's fix this and then some. Give Blackstone buttons their own purpose, and why not also add in uniquely functioning iron gold variants as well? Getting the orientation for certain blocks can sometimes be a little wonky. Like maybe you're building a roof and the stair you placed just broke your pattern, or you're messing around with redstone and the observer just isn't facing the right way. So I think that's why so many of us are begging for a new rotation tool to be added in. You can see as much with Carpet Mod's flipping cactus for switching around terracotta, or Vanilla Tweaks' wrench item. People really want these features added into the game. So if the new update gave us a simple feature like this that would let us tweak our mistakes and fix them right there, I think that'd be a welcome addition we'd all love to see. Automation has been a staple in crop farming for a long time, but while villager-powered farms are a huge benefit, they're not all powerful. Namely, villagers aren't that interested in every crop, meaning you're out of luck for your nether wart and chorus fruit endeavors. If that's the case, then I think it might be worth subbing in our old pal, the dispenser. When you give this block the proper conditions, then you could have it automatically plant crops. That way, we could bring every crop into the industrial age, not just the villagers' favorites. The sounds in Minecraft are iconic, but what I would love is different filters being put on these sound effects that we know and love. Little details like the sound muffling when you go behind a wall or underwater, or just adding reverberation to different spacious caves and new areas that are added in the game. I think that'd be really spectacular, and it would add so much more atmosphere to what seems to be an update all about that. And if you think I sound crazy, then all you gotta do is download the Sound Filters mod and play a music disc in one of these large open areas to really get a feel of how great it could be. Minecraft isn't always one for logic, but weirder still is when the game isn't even consistent on its own terms. Like, take a look at these two situations that we've laid out involving pistons and redstone, and then tell me this: why does the one on the left not work, but the one on the right does? And while there could be benefits in fixing this just for condensing redstone circuits, I think this speaks to a much bigger issue. Clearly, redstone isn't always the most intuitive, so when you got weird inconsistencies like this, that makes it all the tougher for newcomers to grasp. When you move something with a piston, then it's a toss of a coin to see if it's gonna work or not. Case in point, let's look at fences. Now normally we can move these just fine, but throw a lead on top and now we can still move them, but just not a lead, which shuts down the potential of some pretty cool machines before they even get started. So at the very least, why not give the rest of us some love and at least keep the things from breaking all the time? For those of you who have spent the time leveling up a cartographer villager, I'm sure you're well and familiar with one of these. And while these explorer maps are pretty cool, especially if you're trying to find that woodland mansion or ocean monument, as soon as you track those down, they're not as helpful. So to help out these villager stocks, what if they also sold maps that led you to rare biomes? Think about it, when you've got your emeralds saved up and you're looking for an adventure in time, then you could go by one of these guys and have them sell you a map straight over to a mushroom island. That could really make for some exciting trips. And it would put some of the more valuable biomes on the game right on the table for us to build bases in it, giving us both a journey and a new place to stay. Every redstone YouTuber's complained about this, but for good reason. You see, it doesn't make a lot of sense that tile entities like chests and hoppers can be moved in Bedrock Edition, but not in Java. And unless the way that they're coded in makes them so much heavier in this version, it just seems like an oversight. It only takes one look over at the Carpet mod to see just how cool this could be in action. For one example, it'd be a lot easier to hide your valuables if you could physically move the valuables to a different location. Really, the community's already figured out plenty of cool integrations for this, and that's all just been with the one version, so imagine what we could do if both of them were up to speed. Now obviously, being able to move droppers and dispensers with pistons would be a dream scenario, but if that's not happening anytime soon, then another cool tie-in could be to add in dispenser minecarts. Maybe implemented in a way where you not only choose which way the dispenser faces, but also choose when it fires through an activator rail. That way, instead of using multiple dispensers to bone meal your crops, it would just cost 5 iron to boil it down. Or hey, maybe this could even allow for a mobile defense system to go around your base. And trust me, give this idea to the community for a day, and we'll see a bunch of new mob farms come out of it. Nowadays, we use emeralds for trading, but if this suggestion gets added in, we could use them for tools and armor as well. That sounds crazy since it is just a currency right now, but this has been under review by Mojang, so there might be a time where we walk around the village like this instead of this. But the balance in here would be pretty awkward, since emerald ore is harder to find than diamond, but you can also get a lot of them through trading. So maybe it's best to have them as a tier between iron and diamond that would make sense. That is, if it even gets added in the first place. While it's easy to sit here and talk about all the new features that Minecraft should and could add in for the new updates, I think we're doing a disservice by glossing over the changes that they've added and haven't done anything with. Which is why I'd love to see zombie horses, illusioners, and even giants get added into the survival main game. The developers have already put time into these mobs, and I think we owe it to them to put them into the mainstay. So while I don't personally have any ideas of how to implement these unused mobs, I do think it's worthwhile to take them out of the code, dust them off, and get them finally into the regular gameplay. With all this talk of who do you choose in the mob vote, I think it's finally time that we give these old favorites some time in the spotlight. As we've shown before, vines can be a great asset to put to use in your worlds, but while they do add to the aesthetics, they're not exactly cooperative, and it only takes one look at a jungle tree to see just how messy these things can and will grow. So what if we had a way to stop this? Well, if we did something like this approach, then by burning the tips of the vines, the plants would no longer be able to grow past a certain point, which I think both makes sense and cuts down on some chores. If a netherite shell can already help to keep us and our insides safe from lava and burning, then what if it could do the same for our valuables? One great suggestion I've seen pop up that I completely agree with is the netherite shulker box. Which is, what if we could reinforce that shulker shell with a few of our netherite ingots so that our items inside wouldn't burn or be blown up by any mobs? This can make a really great sidekick for all those nether explorations you've been doing since the last update. And being able to keep multiple different pocket storage items safe from a lava bath makes it even more helpful than an ender chest, giving us a worthwhile trade-off for a pretty expensive best buddy.
In a previous build hacks video, we showed off using invisible item frames to give your own kind of jack-o'-lantern faces to pumpkins. And while that original post is a great bit of creativity, I also think it should serve as a great bit of inspiration for Mojang to use in their next texture update. Being able to have random variety, or even choose which one of the patterns that you want to add on top of a pumpkin, that would be awesome. And honestly, I'm surprised that they haven't added in the feature to put a creeper face on top of a pumpkin already. That just seems like a layup. And then on top of that, animating the jack-o'-lanterns so that they have a little bit more personality, that would be fun too. Especially if it carried over to the snow golems that we spawn with these pumpkins.
Minecraft's pigs have never been particularly fast, but that all changes when they get in the mud. See, taken after Minecraft Earth, this muddy pig variant loves to roam around in the mud found in swamps. And lucky for us, it moves pretty fast when it does, which means we can ride them for a new form of agile transportation. Or if that's still not cool enough for you, then just know that you can shear its tulip for some extra dye as well, giving us both a new farm and a new ride. Leads can be a valuable tool, but they also offer up some wonderful options for decorating, or at least they would if it was simpler to use. As is, to get a decorative rope in your world, we need to use mobs tied to the other end and then hide them away. Which, call me crazy, but that seems like overkill. So instead, why not take the simpler option and just let us tie leads between fences? That way we can have much more cooperative ropes in our builds. And also ditch the questionable treatment of animals. Anyone who's beat the Ender Dragon for sure has one of these things hanging out in a chest or around their base. That's about all it's good for. And while there are plenty proponents of having this thing hatch in certain setups and being able to tame your own tiny dragon, I have to admit that does sound pretty cool, but it might not exactly fit in, especially with Mojang not wanting to make big sweeping changes all the time. So instead, another idea that I would really like to see is some form of conduit-style machine with this idea. How about instead, if we use the dragon egg in a machine, we were able to get some form of creative mode flying in a short area. And while it doesn't have to be that, I think it does point out how cool it would be to be able to take this thing into the late game of Minecraft and have some really great reward from doing it. The lighting engine in Minecraft has come a long way. I mean, look back at some of the old updates and you'll see as much. It really stands out like a sore thumb. Which, to continue that grand path of evolution, I think that's why the Minecraft lighting engine needs to add colored lights in the new update. And if you're looking for an example of this, then go no further than Minecraft Bedrock's RTX beta. Clearly, it can be done, and when you look at how beautiful some of these screenshots are, it's really no reason why it shouldn't be done. I mean, having sea lanterns and glowstone give off different types of lighting is one thing, but when you actually see that glass can tint the colors of lights like we can with beacon beams, it's beautiful. Why would you build a double door if you could only open up one at a time? So instead, if there are two doors that are placed next to each other like so, the game should recognize it and open up both of them at once, instead of just one at a time. Note blocks can open up a lot of creativity, but if you're not a musical maestro, then it could be tough to grasp. And I know I definitely fumble setting up the notes right, so to ease the load of memorizing both the instruments and the notes, why not just add some way to see the pitch on side the block? That way, recreating your favorite tunes gets all the easier, and I think that sounds great. Any leaves would look weird without logs nearby, so how about having them decay faster after you chop down the tree? Currently, we have to take 2 trips through the forest, one to chop down the logs, and another to pick up all the saplings and apples. So a faster decay would make it so that we dispose of the forest, and the evidence, even sooner. So the impaling enchantment only deals extra damage to mobs that spawn in the ocean.
ship, but that doesn't include drowned because they're marked as undead. It's confusing, to say the least, and it could quickly waste your levels if you don't know. So since these enchanted books don't come with an instruction manual, it would be handy to have a plainly written description to tell you what each enchantment does straight up. With the addition of the Deep Dark, we also got a new functionality to our wool blocks, which is that we can use them to block out different sounds from the skulk sensors and shriekers, which is great, but I think we could use these wool blocks to deafen sounds outside of the actual Deep Dark. And for one, using these with minecart roller coasters would be really nice. So Quark's idea of having it where you place the rails on top of wool blocks to produce less sound makes a lot of sense to me. And if we were able to use these with the kind of entity cramming minecart contraptions that could throw off a lot of sound, that I'd be even more thankful for. Because right now I have to turn down my game sounds to even be able to tolerate something like this. I'd much rather just shear sheep and solve it that way. By crafting together a normal torch and an arrow, we can get ourselves the new torch arrows. And the idea here is simple. Load these up with your bow, and you can shoot them to place a torch where they land, which when you're exploring the caves below can be an invaluable resource. Let's face it, without a gamma boosting mod, these caves are big and it's hard to see the other end. So this is at least a new way to find it. And it could also give you a cheaper alternative to getting a flame bow, just not as renewable as one, which I think is a fair trade-off, letting us light up both your world and your enemies. Most people light TNT like this, but now we can light it like this. See, this mentioned feature could allow us to lay down gunpowder as a fuse and then light it to catch fire along the trail. That way, when your TNT contraption explodes, it doesn't explode any of the valuable redstone with it. And this might even be a way to send a path of fire towards your enemies. Just saying. When you're trying to kill a baby zombie, every piece of grass that you find turns out to be an inconvenience. So instead of missing your sword swipe when you try to kill the ankle biters, what if we could swing through grass to kill these baddies? And then, if you actually do want to break the grass, just use any other item than a sword. Signs are a great way to label your chests, but as soon as you try to open with one, it's too tough. So instead of avoiding the sign altogether, a simple right-click through the sign would make all of our problems go away. And hey, maybe there's some version of this for item frames as well. That way, we don't have to accidentally rotate the item when we try to open up the chest. Redstone is great, but sometimes it's not always obvious. For example, if we have a target block and you want to know what pulse your shots give off, then the only way to find out is through F3 screens or counting yourself. Not exactly ideal. So instead, what if variable blocks like targets or daylight sensors gave a clear readout of their signal? Then we can ditch the guessing and just get to the building. When droppers were added into the game, the dispenser, in many ways, got replaced. But since the dispenser already does so many right-click functions, why not commit and make that its entire selling point? In that case, it could be cool that since we're able to shear sheep using dispensers, why not let us feed them too? That way, we wouldn't have to add all these awkward pop-up circuits to our cow farms, but instead, it would just handle it out of reach. Which is nice, because I'm not looking for any more errands on my to-do list, and I doubt that you are either. So I've aired my grievances on banner patterns before, but I think it's justified. After all, the whole point of these is that they're a visual medium, only to all look the same in a chest. That just doesn't make sense to me. So let's add some extra proof to each one and give them each their unique sprite. It might take some extra work, but the new look will be much appreciated. As we've gone through before, Minecraft has its fair share of rip-offs and unfair recipes, but the one that particularly irks me has to be when you smelt full gold or iron armor only to get one measly nugget in return. Now, I'm not saying that a full return is necessary, since not all of this metal would melt down that flawlessly, but this kind of reduction seems extreme. So as Simply Sark mentioned, maybe reworking it so that these smelted down based on durability would be a worthy fix. And anything would be better than going from 72 nuggets down to 1. When you're super late game into a Minecraft survival world, then you're probably well and familiar that sand is not a regenerable item. At least not through regular means. There are sand dupers, but we're really not trying to have sand duplication be any kind of intended feature in the game. So for that sake, I think it's prime time to add in some renewable form of sand generation into the game. For this, we could take the skyblock route where husks actually drop the sand, which is a pretty good suggestion considering that it would give more value to that mob. But also, my favorite and perhaps the way wackier solution is to drop anvils on top of cobble and smash those rocks down into sand. And being able to farm this item without exploiting a game-breaking glitch, that's priceless to me. Dispensers are famous for automating a lot of features of the right mouse button, but missing among those is the chance to empty and fill cauldrons. And maybe it's just me, but that seems out of place. After all, these things can pick up and place water and lava using a bucket, so why not do the same with a cauldron? And if this was fully implemented, then we could have a way to make operational and automatic lava farms in the 1.17 update, because doing an AFK farm like this is so much better than this mess. AFK players are a dime a dozen on a Minecraft server, but unless you're nearby, it's not always easy to tell
tell who's missing in action. So a simple yet elegant solution could be to add some form of indicator to let you know when someone isn't at their keyboard. In vanilla tweaks, that's as simple as showing their name grayed out on the tab function. That way, it's not going to be intrusive to the other players. And then, once you get back, you can just move around a bit and the name will change right there, simple as that.
I love suspicious stew as an item, but I also don't like being suspicious. And so, if you're like me and you don't like the roulette game, then having the option to have a pack like this where you can visualize which potion effects is inside of the stew is pretty nice. Now, if we were to get this in vanilla, I would be hesitant with the current implementation. I mean, the textures look great, but they also give away the whole mechanic of the suspicious stew. But maybe the ability to craft it with another ingredient that could let you see what's inside, that'd be nice. Or maybe the stews get less suspicious when you craft them yourselves, instead of finding them in a shipwreck chest. After all, if I know what's in it, I don't want to be guessing what I put in. That makes sense to me.
If you look across Minecraft's updates, then it's clear to see that the sponge is not Mojang's favorite. After all, for a long part of its history, we had a sponge block that couldn't even absorb water. I mean, the neglect is clear to see. But even since its rework, I think that one feature is still missing. See, while we can dry these things out in a furnace to the nether, if we happen to light one on fire, it's a no-go. Which to me doesn't make sense. And I think if you have a flint and steel no furnace, you should still do the trick. Let's face it, it's not a treat to hold down the right click button. So, since Minecraft has plenty of ways to automatically break blocks, I think it's only fair to add in some way to automatically place them as well. And from where I'm standing, dispensers seem to be the obvious candidate here. And honestly, they already share a lot of that functionality as is, being able to shear sheep, bone meal crops, and even place pumpkins through the snow golem trick. And then secondly, we'd still have droppers to fall back on for the ground that we'd lose here. If you want a block placed, you'll use a dispenser. But if not, droppers do the regular function. And really, if we can already place squashes with the thing, then why not
It's not done yet, it's getting done.
It is dark. It's already too dark. It is.
Yeah. On that street, get rid of this and come and walk.
Come on.